Hello everyone, and thank you to Avenza for giving us this time to testify as part of this user conference. It is with great pleasure that we do so, especially since Avenza has played a central role in the birth and evolution of Géom tique. This communication will be done in 2 voices and 3 stages. I will confine myself to an introduction by briefly presenting Géom tique, its history, and its main vocation. Then Sophie-Anne will take over to present our role as a value-added reseller in more detail before highlighting the productions of a few loyal and talented users of MAPublisher and Geographic Imager. So, our company is celebrating 25 years of existence this year. The company was indeed born in April 1998. The workforce of the company has tripled to become an efficient family business, efficient not only in the composition of the workforce, but also in the very often friendly relationships maintained with the users of the softwares that we distribute, all without compromising its dynamism. The activity was launched with an order book of half a dozen people, but a few who hinted at the tremendous potential of MAPublisher, since, for example, there was a major National Institute of Geography among them. 25 years later, we serve thousands of customers just for the French-speaking world, with very strong growth in recent years. I will not dwell on this anniversary, but, as often with anniversaries, it is an opportunity to look in 2 directions. You will allow me to evoke them without being too narcissistic. In fact, it is probably no exaggeration to say that Géom tique might never have seen the light of day without Avenza. In 1997, I expressed myself as I used to do on a professional internet mapping forum, giving my opinion on a very promising tool called MAPublisher. An opinion based on a publication read in a general computer magazine called SVM Mac. A few weeks later, in December, Laurie from the Avenza customer service contacted me to find out if I could send her the article in question. She had indeed noticed an increase in French visits to their website and wanted to know the content of this publication. So I sent her the article, and the conversations that followed changed the course of my life. I probably explained that I had used Illustrator to make maps during a recent university work, and that I would have liked to know sooner this MAPublisher who had just caught my eye. If I remember well, we were only between version 1 and 2. At the same time, Laurie consulted my old school, at this time, personal website. Despite this old school style, the information from it made her think and tell me that I could become a good contact to resell the MAPublisher solution in France. Discussions continued, but this time with Ted Florence, CEO of Avenza, to conclude a contract to resell MAPublisher to French-speaking users. This is how Géom tique was born. Sophie-Anne will discuss the extraordinary diversity of MAPublisher users. These users have very different profiles, from experienced graphic designers, experience in Illustrator who adopt the principle of GIS with MAPublisher to simplify their work and save time while maintaining the graphic quality of their productions, to GIS technicians who wish to refine their maps thanks to the Illustrator MAPublisher couple. Since then, some other products have been added to the catalog, main one being Global Mapper. This software is very complementary to the MAPublisher and Geographic Imager solutions, as Sophie-Anne will also show you in a few minutes. So I took a look at the past and present, rich in lessons. Let me give now the floor to Sophie-Anne by highlighting one aspect of our efforts in the near future, which will be focused on training. Good training remains for us one of the keys to success in the choice of softwares as good as MAPublisher or Geographic Imager.
Okay, thank you, Alain. As has just been said, Géom tique is the reseller of Avenza solutions for the French-speaking world. We are also very proud to be able to say that we are not simply a reseller, but a value-added reseller, a VAR, because we provide a technical support service and are also a training organization. Two aspects of the activity of the company that I am in charge of. Customers with annual maintenance can contact us for any question relating to license management, share a difficulty with the use of the software, submit a request for improvement, or even report a bug. We ourselves are in regular contact with a very responsive and attentive team of technical support from Avenza. And I also take this opportunity to greet team, Rowan, and all the others with whom it's always a pleasure to exchange. We also provide our users with a space for exchange, a forum on which they can interact. This forum also has a FAQ section where we offer short, quick, and effective tutorials answering the frequent or specific questions of our users. For example, how to georeference an Illustrator document, how to use Label Pro to label easily, etc., etc. As I said earlier, Géom tique is also a training organization. We also benefit in this respect from the Calliope certification, which is a label issued in France attesting to the quality of the services offered by the organization. And before the COVID pandemic, at Géom tique, we already offered the possibility of taking online or face-to-face training. But it's clear that the online format has been essential for 4 years. Here on our blog, some examples of training provided before 2020. It was the time when I traveled a lot. Here, training in La Bolescu-Blac, a seaside resort located on the Atlantic coast in November 2019, for 2 people with complementary profiles, as we often meet in training at MAPublisher. One is a geomatician and doesn't know very well Illustrator, and the other proficient in Illustrator but must be more familiar with GIS principle. There, a training at MAPublisher in July of the same year for a cartographer from the department of Haute-Savoie, a neighbor of Géom tique because we are located in Savoie, in the Alps. This user wanted to implement a methodology to create an interactive online atlas using, in particular, the great Map Web Author tool. And the last example, the training in Pont-à-Mousson, in the northeast of France, for 2 people from the Établissement Public Foncier de Lorraine, which is a public operator whose businesses are related to land management, study operations, and pre-development work. We offer our French-speaking users customized trainings, an individually tailored curriculum focused on the specific needs of the company or the organization, but also a 15-hour public training which allows users to get to grips with the software effectively. This year there are 2 sessions. The first takes place in May, and there is still time to register, and the second in December. Géom tique is was also embarked on research work in 2017 through the conduct of a doctoral thesis that I defended last year to get the PhD. This thesis aimed to better understand user practices in order to better meet their needs. It's moreover in this context that I had the chance to visit our 2 main partners, Plumable Geographics in Maine and of course Avenza, where I was given a warm and exceptional welcome. I was able to conduct interviews there and perfect my knowledge on Avenza solutions, and of course visit a little bit Toronto, for example the CN Tower, the Nathan Phillips Square, etc., etc. Yeah, very good memories. Okay, now you know everything or almost about Géom tique. I would like to tell you about our users. Indeed, the uses of MAPublisher and Geographic Imager are varied, and I would like today to present a few cartographers who have done us the honor of presenting their journeys and work in the framework of the Spotlight section, coup de projecteur in French, of our blog, and who represent well the diversity of these users. I'll begin with Marie-Sophie Putefin, who is a cartographer at the Legend Cartography Agency, which is an agency of 5 cartographers who mainly produce thematic maps for publishing and the press with varied areas of expertise, but particularly specialized in history. They produce a lot of history geography textbooks, but also work in the field of geology, vine list, or tourism. And here are some examples of the MAPublisher uses of Marie-Sophie. She works a lot with the georeferencer tool to georeference an existing base map and to be able to reproject it in another projection. She also uses the map selection tool. For example, on this map, she had to make a map in polar projection and represent all French possessions and the exclusive economic zones in both hemispheres. She used the map selection tool to select only the French exclusive economic zones on a shapefile of the world exclusive economic zones, and then she reprojected her map into 2 polar projections. Here is another very simple example of the use of the map selection tool on a map of an atlas of Africa from a database compiled by her on monetary or economic unions in Africa. For this, Marie-Sophie manipulated the map attributes to create additional categories. She also traditionally uses the map themes tool as if to represent here the population of the United States by county. And one of her favorite tools is the map view, simply for the pleasure of dragging an element into a map view and seeing it put in the right projection. She also appreciates being able to change projection very easily and being able to center her map on the position she wants. This is what she does on this map. France must not fall into the fold on the book in the middle of the map. And for this map, the projection is a Winkle triple that she centered on 25 degrees east, because as you know, MAPublisher's library of projection system is very large. In brief, for Marie-Sophie, the main advantage of MAPublisher is their simplicity of use and intuitiveness, perfectly integrated into Illustrator. Example number 2 is Pascal Le Bonhomme, a globe maker at Litavis. I also really like this example because it shows the complementarity of tools, MAPublisher and Geographic Imager, of course, but also Global Mapper. Passionate about cartography since always, Pascal created in 2011 Litavis, which is a company of cartographic publishing and manufacturing of terrestrial, celestial, and planetary globes. And the name of Litavis is really appropriate for a structure whose vocation is to manufacture terrestrial globes because, indeed, Litavis was the goddess of the earth among the Aedui and the Ligones. Okay, and in this article, Pascal explained really well the steps to create a globe. It's very interesting, and he also explains that his use of MAPublisher, Geographic Imager, and Global Mapper is very simple and can be described as follows. He develops all of his background maps using Global Mapper, which allows him to create layers representing the relief and export them in RGB format as well as in WGS84. Then he imports them into Geographic Imager to convert them to CMYK and give them a spindle shape thanks to the transform tool. And finally, he imports everything into MAPublisher, where he carries out the vectorization, labeling, and all the layout of the map. Last example, here is Alain Rivas, cartographer at IGNFI, an internationally recognized actor in the field of geographic imager. This organization works in the realization of geomatics projects with leading contractors, private and public, by providing essential tools to help them in their decision-making, particularly in terms of land use planning, environment, agriculture, etc., etc. And Alain is a very long-time user of MAPublisher and Geographic Imager. As part of its cartographic projects, he mainly trains the staff of local partners on site, and MAPublisher is for him a simple ergonomic software and allows short times of understanding, training, and adaptation. You have in this article some examples of his productions. This map shows the method he used to style the road network on a map of Burkina Faso, where you can see a very high density of line, area, and point features. MAPublisher also allows him to proceed with the generalization of maps for the transformation of maps at smaller scales, like on this two maps on Benin. And as for Geographic Imager, he mainly uses it for its mosaicing images functions. Well, there would still be a lot to say, but I will stop on this last example just by saying that Geomatic is very proud to distribute Avenza products which satisfy many French-speaking users. And yeah, it's with pleasure and passion that we continue to promote these softwares for the Francophonie. Alain and I thank you for your attention.